Coach Jim Mora joining me right now. You're sitting on your couch wherever you were watching this, and you saw the ball in the air, and what happened? You thought what, Jim?
I went bananas like the rest of the country. I just went, oh, my God, what are they doing?
Yeah.
You know, but we've all been in the same situation as Pete and Darrell Bevell and Russell. And, you know, as crazy as it seems, it might have been the right call. If you go back and you look at the defense, the way the Patriots were lined up, it was going to be tough to get it in running the ball. Now, beast mode, he's probably going to get that yard because he runs angry. It was just one of those unfortunate things, you know. At the wrong time, they made the wrong decision through the chain of command. You know, it starts with Darrell. He makes the call. It goes through Pete's headset. Pete basically okays it, or Pete says, hey, we got to run it here. And then Russell has to make the right decision. And, you know, they've made a lot of great plays and a lot of great decisions, or they wouldn't have been on the 1 yard line there. And so it's just, oh, my God, it's just gut grinding if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, and it's exhilarating if you're a Patriots fan, and it's awesome if you're a member of the media because it gives you something to talk about for the next 6 months.
It sure does. Well, and for years to come, though, Jim. I mean, let's be honest. This is the sort of stuff that leaves a mark for forever.
I know. And you know what I feel bad about, though,
what?
Rich, having been in that position where you're open to criticism, and when you are a coach in the NFL, you know when you sign that contract that you've opened yourself up to criticism, and that is part of the deal. But what I don't like is I got on Twitter last night, and I saw Darrell Bevell trending, and I know Darrell, and people getting personal with him. The guy is a great coach. He did a great job getting them to helping them get to the Super Bowl with a lot of great calls through the year. And he makes one bad call, and now it turns personal. Let's not make it personal. The guy made a poor professional judgment, but that doesn't define who he is as a coach, and it certainly doesn't define who he is as a person. Darrell Bevell is classy, man, and he's a hell of a coach. And you can be pissed about the call, but when people call him a moron, and he's, you know, his Wikipedia, he's brain dead. Those are the things that bug me about our society, because this is a man with a family. And it was, and I understand it's an emotional decision. And listen, I've been called brain dead, okay, and a moron, and I'm sure I will again. So maybe I'm just sensitive to it. I don't know.
Jim Mora, UCLA head coach, joining me here. So let's walk through how you said. So Bevell makes the call, and Pete had every opportunity to say no.
No, here's typically what happens.
Yeah, sure.
They get the ball down there, okay, and Pete is in communication with Darrell, and they're communication with Tom Cable and all the other offensive coaches, Carl Smith. And, you know, Pete would probably say something like, hey, take a shot, and then we'll run it on third down if we don't get it. Or Pete might say, Darrell, run the ball, you know, and then Darrell makes the call. That's typically what happens. Now, I don't know if that's exactly what happened with them. I know if it was me and I'm with Noel Mazzoni, my offensive coordinator, we get in that situation, I'm either going to say to him, hey, Noel, run the ball emphatically, or I'm going to say, hey, let's take a shot here, then we still got third and fourth down to run it, given the fact we have one timeout. So, you know, you think about what Pete said. Okay, it's second down. We're going to throw it. If it's incomplete, we can run it on third down. If we don't get it, it's fourth down now, because we can call a timeout, and then we decide what to do. So logically, that makes sense, what Pete was saying. What doesn't make sense to all of us in America is Beast Mode just ran for, 5 or 6 yards of play before. Mm-hmm. They haven't stopped him all game, and it's 1 yard from the world championship with the freaking most powerful, greatest back in football right now, and you don't give it to him. But, you know, I see both sides because I'm a coach.
Yep. UCLA head coach Jim Mora, former coach of Seattle and Atlanta, joining me right now. So,
I know. Big sigh, huh, Rich?
I know.
Big
yeah.
sigh.
I mean, because listen, you know, this is an obvious question, but I want to hear from you again, your perspective. What is Pete Carroll wakes up this morning and it washes over him again, and he thinks what? What does he think?
Oh, I'm sure Pete is sick to his stomach because he ultimately is the one that's responsible. And, you know, Pete has done an amazing job there. I mean, to get his team to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row and to get him to the position where they were, you know, have a chance to win it, and then to make that decision that backfires on him, that's going to stick with him forever. The great thing about Pete, though, is he's always going to be a glasses half full guy. He's going to find a way to get over it. He's going to find a way to get his team over it, his city over it. and get going again. That's just him. That's his personality. But it will live with him. I'm sure he woke up this morning with a crater in his stomach, not just a pit, but a crater. And it's horrible to get that close, But that's the beauty of sport, isn't it? Isn't that the beauty of pro football?
Sure, because it's
that moment. God, that moment. It's what we all live for. That one moment, that play, it captivated an entire country for sure, and part of the world. It was awesome, man. It's why we do it. It's why you like to talk about it. It's awesome.
Jim Mora, UCLA head coach here. So, what Pete has a challenge in front of him, because you talk about crater, it could be one in that locker room. I mean, Bruce Irvin flat out questioned the call.
Sure.
Now, he also got ejected from the game. And not many people get ejected from the Super Bowl.
First time ever.
He questioned the call, and Michael Bennett said to Steve Wyche, essentially, I hope that we stick together as a team, is what he said. And when you hear a leader like that, a veteran like that, say something like that, that means obviously in the emotions of the moment, something may have been going down in the locker room. But what is Pete's challenge? What is Coach Carroll's challenge moving forward to keep these guys together?
Well, I think number one is just making sure that there maintains a bond of trust there. And now you heard from Bruce Irvin and you heard from the defensive lineman, who's a hell of a player, but the leaders on that team are Russell Wilson. The leaders on that team are Doug Baldwin. The leaders on that team are Earl Thomas. The leaders on that team are Cam Chancellor. The leaders are Richard Sherman, not Bruce Irvin, and not number 27, who also said something, who got beat, by the way, for the winning touchdown, and they are not the defensive linemen. So those guys are the rational ones, and they didn't say anything. So I don't think that the challenge is as great as everybody thinks, because the main guys in that locker room, the guys that are the core of that team, the guys that are going to hold it together and keep them going in the right direction, they understand sport, they understand competition, they understand tough breaks, and they're going to firmly support Pete and Darryl and that team. Now, they're going to question the decision. That's their right. They're men. They're professionals. They had a stake in the game. But those are the guys that matter. And as long as we're not hearing from Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas and Russell Wilson, who Russell took responsibility, to me, that right there is the first step in the healing process for the Seattle Seahawks.
So, Jim, let's just, we're in my last minute with you here, talk about the team that,
Can we talk about one other thing, too?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Can you tell Eric Stonestreet to watch the last two plays and notice how the Seattle Seahawks did not launch over the top to try to hit Tom Brady?
I got a text from him saying he hoped you were watching the end of the game, too, Jim.
Yeah, well, tell my man Eric from Modern Family that the Seattle Seahawks went after it hard, but they didn't launch at Tom Brady.
Oh, my
did
God.
he really? Did Eric really do that?
He did.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
The two of you are like cut from the same cloth, because you're passionate, you love it, you bleed it, you wear it on your sleeve, and in that regard too. I mean, and between where you say how this is why we love it, because you go from maybe losing the Super Bowl to now having 4 rings like Tom Brady now has. Obviously, his fourth quarter comeback, the way he engineered it, allowed for that pick on the goal line to be what wins the game. So let's not forget that he had them in that position to close it out with an interception for the ages. My last question for you is your thoughts on Tom Brady, Jim Mora.
Rich. I mean, I love him. He works out at UCLA in the off-season. So he comes down here and he throws on our field. So we get to see him a lot, and our players get to watch him work. And there's nobody better to show as an example to young people how it's supposed to be done. This is a great story now, Rich. If you got a minute, you can indulge me.
Sure.
2 years ago, when my first year here, and the Patriots had the first-round bye in the playoffs, I get a call at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Patriots aren't playing. It's wild card weekend, and it's Tom Brady. And he says, hey, Jim, can I come down and throw on the field? I'm like, of course you can. So Tom, and this is the week that Romo and Witten were over in Cabo, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Cabo.
Oh, yeah.
So Romo, who I love, is in Cabo, while Tom Brady is out on UCLA's practice field throwing routes. So it just kind of, to me, shows that commitment that he has. I had a funny feeling. Listen, Dan Quinn, who's, today going to be named the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm so proud of him. I hired him into the league 10 years ago or whatever at San Francisco, is a very good friend of mine. So I'm pulling for Seattle because of Dan, because I love Dan. But in my mind, I'm going, okay, Tom Brady's pissed off. This whole deflate gate, he's pissed off. He's got something to show. And then he throws those 2 interceptions, and I'm just like, you know what? The greatness of Tom Brady's about to come through, and he's about to show everybody in the world exactly who he is. And he did.
And he did.
What a stud, man.
He is.
What an example.
Same to you, too, Jim. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. See ya.
You got it. That's Jim Mora. Fired up.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.